everybody out there, thank you for supporting us. If you'd like to do so while not paying a dime, all you have to do is click the Amazon link in the description below, or on any of our YouTube videos. It's real simple. Click that, shop as you want to, and then you can help support the show without costing you anything. The wizards at Amazon actually give us more money for every commission or whatever that you buy. That's great.
I thought you were going to be like, okay, this ad's going to be really quick. Sprite. Like, that was it. Like, I really thought that's where you go with it.
How about this?
Like just
Amazon.
a one-word ad.
Amazon. That's
Amazon.
it. Link below. Do it. That's it.
Quickest ad. Boom. In your face.
Quickest ad ever.
Clickable.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody to another episode of the Brewmasters Club cast. Here is what you have to look forward to in tonight's episode.
I said you're the first one on. You should always just be recording. Donnie, you sound like you're in a command center, though. You're like, your headphones don't sound like you're here.
It's a totally different computer, so that's probably why.
He's speaking into a tube of Pringles.
It's just dragons and titties. That's all it is. Dragons and titties, occasional floppy ween. Besides that, dragons and titties.
Wiener, floppy wiener. Are you saying weenus?
Wieners. Wieners.
Weenus.
Sounds like you're saying weenus.
Wieners. Floppy weenish.
Weenus.
No, I'm saying wieners.
Donnie, I want you to say, Goose, it's time to buzz the tower.
Goose, it's time to buzz the tower.
Told you he sounds like in a command center.
Speaking of that, dude, Top Gun 2?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maverick making a comeback? Am I going to have to Photoshop a fucking sicky Mavi cover of Top Gun 2 movie poster?
Yeah.
like you know I'm going to have to do that.
So they don't fly the Tomcat anymore. What are they going to be flying?
F-35s.
F-35s? Yeah, hopefully.
Or F-22s. I don't know. You saw that they released the new. Well, I'm not going to get into an airplane tangent.
Hey, yeah, don't.
Well, it's a replacement for the A-10 Warthog, so stay continued.
No, all right.
It's their cold mountain summer ale.
Okay.
Hot mountain.
Okay. Dane,
Shut up, Alexa.
Apparently, you can buy Cold Mountain Brew on Amazon now. I don't know. That's again, but if you use our link, just use our affiliate link, and everything's fine.
I was gonna say, Alexa better be using that affiliate link there, Dane.
Yeah.
House on fire. Get out as quickly as possible. Terrorist attack. Grab your beer.
But
we should send them the Rotten Tomatoes. That's how we get back at them.
We sent them Rotten Tomatoes.
That's how they'll be fresh at the time, and then due to shipping errors and whatnot, might smudge some of those the stamps a little bit. They'll get there, but they won't be good. I'm just glad that Dogfish Head's bark is as big as its bite. Hashtag spicy news and dicey brews. Some of the best train wrecks in all of television have occurred at E3. If you Google
nope, not at
Mr.
all.
Louseman, I will actually show up to your door. Just try it. Try it right now.
This is a restricted area. Is this a drill or something? Negative. Bye bye. I hate drill. Ah! You crazy mother.
Welcome to the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews and Geek News. Sit back, pour yourself a pint, and let's get into it. Now here's the founder of the Brewmasters Club and your host, Donnie Gallagher.
Welcome, craft beer fans. Good evening. My name is Donnie. I'm joined by a panel, the full panel actually here, of our lovely and esteemed individuals here. We have returning for a triumphant victory here this evening, Mr. Dane. How are you, sir?
Yes, I am back. And we're talking about E3, so super hyped. Glad to be back. Let's do it.
All right, we're going to get into E3, as he said. Yes, spoiler alert.
Shit.
Mr. Louseman, how are you, sir?
Fantastic. Having a great time down here. Yep.
And last but not
E3.
Last but not least, the E3 king himself, Mr. Ryan.
All about that E3. What's up?
See, Ryan actually thought it was 3 elephants or 3 something. I don't know what he thought it was.
I said ET phone home, or E3 phone home like that.
Yeah, which is still pretty wrong.
If you guys don't hear me later on this track or podcast, you'll know why.
It's Ryan's last episode, so
We're replacing him with Ryan 2.0. That's right.
I got told to go home on a text message. Like,
That's true. That's true. Only because you knew nothing of the content subject matter, but that's all right. Who cares? You know,
Nope.
it's fine.
That's why I'm
Not
here,
like
because
people-
at that point I'm going to be listening to you guys and be a listener. That's
And that's the questions that don't get asked, and that's good. That's all we need. We are here to educate the masses. You included, Ryan. You included.
my mind is ready to be opened.
All right. Well, good, because we're gonna get in there real good. We're gonna give you.
Give
you
me those
an old
nooks
one.
and crannies.
Ah, Jesus.
How many nooks and crannies do you have in your mind?
Segue to our newest sponsor, Thomas's English Muffin. No, I'm kidding.
Good God, no. All right. Well, welcome. Well, welcome everyone. This is our
They're not our sponsor.
41st episode here. This is the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews Geek News. As I mentioned, my name is Donnie. Let's go ahead and get into it. As always, we start with our first segment here. What are you drinking? What are you going to drink? Who wants to kick us off? I've got a good one, but I can kick it to the crowd if you guys want.
I'll go.
I'm sure
Go,
Dane brought
Ryan.
something interesting, but go ahead, Ryan. You go first.
No, Dane can go.
no, I'm going last. Fuck you
He's
guys.
going last.
So I brought the a New Belgium Tartastic to the table tonight. I don't know if you guys have had this one. It's a sour. It's a lemon ginger sour beer, and it's exactly what you would expect it to be. It's lemony, it's gingery, and it's sour. It's not ginger like you, Laos. No.
No, it is. It still counts.
You've been smiling. You've just been waiting to say something
still
about
counts.
ginger. But
So-
it's very refreshing. It's just it's very sour.
So every time I hear like a ginger sour something or whatever, I always like, because ginger, I eat a lot of sushi and ginger is so strong. Like how much of the ginger like sweetness can, because it's almost like a spice. Like how much can you taste of that?
It really blends well with the lemon. So
I assume it would, because those smells go together. They're like they have like candles and shit that have
Yeah.
ginger, lemon or whatever. But
Yeah.
the
Eh,
flavor,
eh,
like is it too gingery or is it literally just the subtle, almost sweetness at that point with the lemon backer?
No, more on the sour or more on the lemon side for the sour. But
Can't be too ginger.
you can never have enough
Never.
ginger.
Yep.
That's to be desired. Speaking of ginger, Laos, what do you bring?
Okie dokie. So I actually brought the Goose Island Summertime Kolsch.
Nice.
And yeah, I thought that was going to be, or I imagine it's going to be a some sort of limited whatever. They're probably only going to do it for the summertime. But it's pretty good. I like it. I like summertime. It's pretty fruity, crisp. So
Is it
I
like
enjoy
a-
it.
Whenever I hear the Kolsch style, especially when it's like a craft beer, I always think of the European beers, like the Heinekens and like the Grolsch. I mean, does it have that kind of European flavor to it, or no?
It definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
does it?
tastes just like one of those girls. Yeah.
Which
But
are
it's
good.
good.
Like you could drink those, at like the bar, like those are like what I call club beers. Like you can drink them at the club. You could have one or two of them at the pool, but like it's not overly something that I usually am gravitating towards.
Yeah, I probably got it because I knew it's summertime and it's not
Yeah.
always going to be summertime. So
Yeah.
get it while the getting's good.
Yeah, man. All right. Good. Well, glad. Goose Sounds, they make good stuff. They're partly owned by AB. We'll get into that in a second, but that's
Boo.
okay. Yeah, that's good. I brought something that was brewed truly by an independent brewer, and this is actually Ryan. What you call your red ale?
Oh, that's a good question. What did I call that red ale?
Ryan's red ale. That's what I got. This is left over from the party, and actually, Ryan, I poured it. It was first off, the aroma's there, the taste is there, the foam was there. And there's literally like no sediment in the bottom. I don't know
Oh,
how
that's my red ale?
Yeah, this is your red. I don't know how
Oh.
I don't know how you bottled this so nicely, but it actually, you know what? You probably did this 2 months ago at this point.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, it's there's still a little bit of carbonation there. It's not much, but it's very drinkable. I had
That's
one
good.
left in my fridge. This is the last one of yours I had.
Oh, that's fantastic news. To be honest
I
with you,
mean,
It tastes a little bit more like a Newcastle than a red, I would say, but it's good, man. For a homebrew, it's probably one of the. I know. I think I said like the pineapple in your IPA is my favorite, but this is really good. Very good.
thank you,
I
sir.
haven't-
I appreciate
I have
that.
a name for it.
All right, go ahead.
Redbeard's Revenge. Boom.
Spit take.
I like it. I like it.
I mean, I just like names, man.
No, that's good to hear, Donnie. And as a matter of fact, hopefully, well, I don't say hopefully, but on Saturday when I see you, I've got pineapple beer to give you. So
Fantastic. You should put them like in a little disposable cooler and bring them with you, and we'll smash them before we go in the bar.
we'll talk about that.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Before we move on, Dano, what did you bring this evening, my friend?
20th anniversary call-up.
One more time. It sounded like an old familiar favorite.
Woodford Reserve. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Beer.
Didn't even show the front of the label. He's like, beer.
Yeah, just a regular beer.
Yeah, the 20th anniversary, guys. Highland
is
Brewing Company out of North Carolina. It's their Cold Mountain summer ale.
Okay.
Hot Mountain.
Okay. PSA
You mean
here.
20th episode running anniversary?
Yeah.
Listen,
PSA here. We are not sponsored by any means by Cold Mountain Brewery. That is just Dane.
shut up, Alexa.
Damn it.
And Alexa, every time he says it, she orders a new case for him. Apparently, you can buy Cold Mountain Brew on Amazon now. I don't know. That's again, but if you use our link, just use our affiliate link, and everything's fine.
I was gonna say, Alexa better be using that affiliate link there, Dane.
Yeah. No, but really, I was in Charlotte 2 weeks ago, and it's called the Baby Maker IPA. It's from Triple C Brewing Company. It's an American double.
Triple seed. I
yeah.
get it.
It's American double, and it was delicious.
What was the name of the brewery again?
Triple C Brewing Company. It's got a really heavy malt to it, but enough bitterness to back it up. So it was freaking delicious. So I highly recommend it.
I'm still vibing on the doubles and the double IPAs and the Belgian triples is what I'm really into right now. Again, still, but
Yeah.
Well, so I thought of you. I was in Miami. Getting a couple of the old Miami tourist traps.
Tourist trap.
Yeah,
Love
I was thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you guys have you ever tried a jalapeno beer?
Yes.
I have 6 of them in my closet bottled because I brewed an IPA with
Oh, I
jalapenos.
totally forgot,
my
dude.
gosh.
Okay, Ryan, I'm sorry. This take it as you wish, whatever. I've got to get you some banana peppers because we have 6 of them on my counter that I grew in my garden. So we've got to find a way to put those into a beer that you are making.
We could do a banana pepper IPA or something.
I mean, I imagine it would be exactly the same as jalapeno.
We'll see. Sorry, Dane, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you asked the question, and yes, I have because I have 6 of them in my.
So there's another beer that my brother ordered. It's called the Juicy J, and it's from Legion Brewing in North Carolina as well. And it was actually pretty good. And I'm not a big jalapeno fan, but it had like that slight hit of it to where it was pretty good. So,
I do not like the jalapeno beers, but
I don't either. But that one wasn't terrible. And we didn't even know what it was at first. So it was like Juicy J. That kind of sounds cool. And I was like, and he was like, taste this. So I tasted. I'm like, well, the J probably stands for jalapeno because you can kind of taste it. So, but it was good. It wasn't bad.
It's nice. It's nice when it's subtle. When it's too intense, it's a little rough. But
yeah, but they all tasted the Baby Maker, and they're like, "This is delicious." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I sent you guys a picture, but you guys didn't respond because you guys hate me or whatever.
Picking up on that now, are we?
I'll have to look back through.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
I'm not gonna look back through.
Oh,
Damage has already been done.
We love you, Dane.
Well, and I was actually just going to say next week, little showcase here, I'm going to have Ashley do What Are You Drinking? And she is going to share her thoughts about that jalapeno IPA called the Wildfire. So,
all right, because that's her beer, right?
Tune in next week for that. That is the beer named after my wife. Yes.
That's right. My wife.
My wife.
Somebody had to. We all went.
Very nice.
All right. Well, speaking of Ryan and his life, the first story we have here is the party that we're going to be going to on 6/10, June 10th. Ryan, do you want to kick us off and give a little explanation about that?
Yeah. So, though my birthday is next Wednesday, June 14th, if anybody cares to.
Everyone
Twitter
wanted
me.
to know that. That's good.
I
Tweet
know
out
it
on his
is.
birthday.
I better get some tweets from those listeners out there.
Or he's going to kill himself. Make sure you do.
No, don't. I'm not doing that. I
what do
still
you
have
like,
many
recording?
beers left to brew. So I'm celebrating the Dirty 30 this weekend, and those who can attend, by all means, come out. But I've ran across this nice little thing, which I didn't even know when I planned. Well, Ashley planned it, but I didn't even know that there was this day for SixTen. We're going to SixTen Brewery. That's where we're going to start out. And SixTen Brewery, they actually, the owners, have a very special love for this day, the date itself. And one of the reasons, of course, obviously their name's SixTen Brewery. Well, when Leslie and Chris Johnson left their 9-to-5 jobs 3 years ago, they obviously started their SixTen Brewery. And let's see here. It is their favorite day of the year. The celebration is going on this weekend, this Saturday from 2 to 10 p.m. And the Holy Hog Barbecue is going to be there. And they've actually got a bunch of different beers that they're going to be releasing. They're going to be releasing the 611 Neapolitan Porter, the 612 Bourbon Barrel Aged Barley Wine, and the 613 Red Velvet White Stout, and the Butterfinger CBGB. So definitely come out and try some of that.
A couple of those sounded absolutely like goddamn amazing.
The Red Velvet?
The Red Velvet sounds really good. And the Butterfinger, I really wanna check out.
So, what with the CBGB,
I believe it's pronounced heebie-jeebies.
Heebie-jeebie. So with that, they actually, I mean, that's more of a flavoring to their cider, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So they have one cider that has multiple flavorings that you can order. So I think it's going to be like a Butterfinger cider, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I've been there a couple of times. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So yeah, I think the C is for cider. So,
Lost, did you have a question? Because I had one question about them.
Yeah, I have a slight question. So the brewery is called 610 Brewery.
Yep.
They're brewing, and their big day is 610, and it's going to be on June 10th. And they're open 2 to 10.
Damn.
I think
What happened there?
I think the party is that. Yeah, the party is from 2 to 10, but they're. I mean, who's going to brewery at 6 a.m. First off,
I don't make the rules.
Right.
I didn't pick the day.
No,
this isn't on me.
No, it's good. It's good. Hey, we're gonna give them a shout out here when this is live. I'm a big supporter.
That's
of it,
right.
So. My question was, I noticed that their beer is 611 Neapolitan, 612 Bourbon Aged. Do they do everything with 6 something, whatever it is? Do they make 13 beers now? Is that what it is with the 613, or is that?
That's something I think we should ask Chris when we go.
Okay.
Because Chris is a very, just down to earth guy. He'll talk to everybody that comes over to him. I mean, he's really, really cool. Last time I saw him was Hunapoo Day. We went there after Hunapoo Day, and they were tie-dyeing shirts out in the parking lot. So, I mean, he's just very down to earth. I think he would answer that question pretty honestly. Now, I can tell you that at 3 p.m., 3 hours before 6 p.m.
We're getting closer.
They are going to be releasing the 613 in 22-ounce bottles for about $12 a piece. You're limited to about 2 per person. So I think that's, basically going to be their staple, which is the Red Velvet White Stout. Now, I've only ever had one other white stout before, and that was at the Wild Rover, which I think I told you guys back about around the time that Star Wars movie came out, but they were sold out there. So I'm really wanting to try that, even though it's the Red Velvet White Stout. So I'm not really sure how they're pulling the Red Velvet. This is supposed to have like a Red Velvet cake flavor, I'm guessing. But
cool.
It sounds very interesting. That's what I couldn't figure out.
In the color.
I'm so confused too. It says it's a white stout, but I think it's supposed to taste like a white or a red velvet cake. I don't really know. So
all right,
we're just gonna have to get there and try it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, and we'll bring we'll pop a little audio off too while we're there on Saturday, and as we continue on the brew tour that is going to be the Rye Guy Birthday Bash 2017. Welcome to the Dirty 30s.
Yes.
So we will continue that on. If anybody wants to join us again, that is Saturday from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. We will not be there the whole time, but we will definitely make an appearance. 610 Brewing is located on the northeast side of Tampa, basically in between Town and Country, West Chase, and Carrollwood. So if you can imagine that trifecta right off the Veterans, it is right there north of the airport. So check them out. I've heard nothing but great things from 610, so I am all about this. I'm very excited. I can't wait to check these guys out. So thank you for bringing that up, Ryan. That's awesome, and I'm so excited to go. So on to the next story. And the next story, actually, I don't know if you guys took a look at this, but the next story is coming off the heels of some really sad and depressing news. Of course, there's no fun to be had or anything when you hear stories like what happened last Saturday in London with the terrorist attack, the knives, and 7 people died. I think many more were injured. But there was one. The Brits are so great about this. There's one shining glimmer of humor that folks the internet has just exploded on. I think to the tune of like 85,000 hits within 24 hours of the video coming out. But as you know, when these things happen, they evacuate the building or they evacuate the area, and there's always cell phone footage and this kind of thing going on. Well, as all the people are running out of the area, and again, this is not comical at all, but as all the people are running out, there's one man who was very slowly carrying a pint of beer, careful not to spill it, as there was people fleeing for their lives, and he was literally walking very calmly out of the area. And the Brits have literally just taken this image of this man walking out of this completely dangerous situation, most concerned about his beer, and they've kind of turned it into like again, it's British humor, and it's a little bit of humor to lighten the seriousness of this terrible incident. But I want to bring it up because a lot of people are talking about it. But the news articles are: man fleeing London terrorist attack with beer hailed as unlikely hero. So, and that was an article in the Associated Press, which again it's not a comical situation, but the fact that you can find humor in such a terrible thing is an amazing thing. So I wanted to give it a shout out because I don't know if they had a hashtag for this yet. Like I said, it just happened on Saturday, but this guy clearly wanted his beer, and I think that when he was asked, that the quote was, well, he paid €6 for this beer, he doesn't just want to leave it. So good on you. I don't know what it was, but the tweet that I saw was people fleeing #London Bridge, but the bloke on the right isn't spilling a drop. God bless the Brits. that post itself was liked more than 85,000 times. So just a little humor for a really bad situation. But that's the only downer. This is all straight up. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you picture a house on fire, get out as quickly as possible. Terrorist attack, grab your beer.
I'd be really embarrassed actually if that were to happen. Like if my house would have burned down, if you were to videotape me running out of my house that was on fire and what I was carrying at the time, it would probably be very embarrassing. Like I'd have like an iPad and a dog and like my drone on my back. Like I don't know, but it would probably be terrible. So I don't.
Well, just one bottle of beer. Probably, yeah. But if it was like a 5-gallon fermenting beer, that's a different story. I think that deserves to get out of the house.
Yeah. Well, look up the video if you can, because it's all over the place. And like I said, all the British news sites and all the comedians are going crazy with it. But it is funny because everybody else is fleeing, like running, and this guy is moving this beer around, running people, and he doesn't spill a drop. And it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So.
Definitely prayers for London. My family's from there. My grandfather was born in England, or in London, I should say. He was in the RAF, so I've got tons of family there. Definitely very last couple of weeks there. I think there was a bombing a week before. Keeping thoughts and prayers out there for everyone to be safe. But cheers to that man keeping his beer safe. So
absolutely. Go ahead, Lossman.
That actually, I think right around the same time, there was also another popular meme. There was the gentleman mowing his grass, and there's a tornado. I don't know if you guys have seen this one.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's mowing his grass, and this really happened. It was somewhere in the Midwest, and he's mowing his grass, and there is clearly this isn't digitally imposed or anything like that. There is a tornado in the background, and it's pretty close, within a couple of miles. And when asked, why are you mowing your grass during a tornado, he said, I was keeping an eye on it. So he's like, I needed to mow the grass, and he goes, I was keeping an eye on the tornado, and that was his. But he's clearly not in the picture. He's just mowing away. And I was like, well, that's another great picture that happened this weekend. I think it was the same weekend.
I'm looking at the picture right now. What the fuck?
Yes, for all you YouTubers out there that have not seen it yet, there he is, and there's the freaking tornado. He's just mowing his grass, and there's the tornado.
The whole story.
What is that guy thinking?
Whole story is his wife was asleep, and their daughter was awake, and their daughter became so upset that he was still outside, and it was dangerous out there, that his daughter woke up his wife and said, "Oh my gosh, why is he still out there?"
Oh my god!
This twister looks so pissed too. It looks like
Oh,
a tremor coming from the sky.
That thing is terrifying looking. Like, good God!
He's just gonna.
Yep, that's a real picture.
Jesus.
Jesus
But who was taking the
Christ,
picture, not waving the guy down that's mowing the lawn? That's what I want to know.
His wife's like, fuck, good riddance.
Yeah, she's like, "Well, this will be funny later
Yeah,
if we make it."
All right. So internet memes and sorrows for everything that's happening overseas aside, one thing I did want to get into, or we wanted to get into here, was another kind of, this has been, the last few weeks have been really impactful for beer, and they've been pretty serious stuff, and there's been some big topics going on, and if you like literally Google beer, you found the stories that we're hitting on each week. So we're good job on you guys. Ryan's picking up a lot of these stories. I've actually got a couple of these sent in from some listeners of the show and some friends, so that's great. But this one is a new story on some awkwardly old news, but you may or may not have heard of it. I know some of you guys, especially you guys here on the cast, did. But last Friday, so almost a week from today, or a week past, InBev announced, or Rate Beer announced their acquisition of InBev, a minority acquisition for the beer rating site that we've referenced a few times, called RateBeer.com. The funny thing is that in September 2014, right when we were starting, right when we were being crafted ourselves, I reached out to these guys to find out what kind of API options and what kind of affiliation we can have with them to leverage craft beer database and to make that best for our listeners and our users and our app and our company and whatnot. It eventually, it actually didn't really work out that we would work with them for API reasons or the direction that we were going at the time. But that was, 3 years ago, basically. So it was interesting because I had many conversations with Joe Tucker, the CEO and founder of Rate Beer, his team with Ken and a couple other guys. But they've decided, or they've announced last Friday that InBev now owns a minority share in that. So it's a little discomforting because if you think about that, what is Rate Beer? I mean, to you guys, we all use it, right? I mean, you Google any beer and Rate Beer comes up first.
Yeah, between them and Beer Advocate.
Yeah,
sure.
And we actually probably favor Beer Advocate. I think, Ryan, it sounds like you use it a little bit more than most because I've listened to a couple past episodes just to see how much stake we really put in this, doing research for this piece. But we go to Beer Advocate quite a bit for that. But Rate Beer was a company that we work with because they were a competitor. So essentially what happened is that AB acquired 10% of this company, which is, if you don't know what Rate Beer is, imagine like a Rotten Tomatoes that's owned by Sony Motion Pictures, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. Or if Disney owned Rotten Tomatoes, so every Disney movie got 100%, but every Sony picture got 20%, or whatever. So it's a little bit, it's not to say that it's necessarily biased, but it goes against some of the principles of what the site set out to be, was a user-generated review, feedback, communication piece. So when a brewery owns that voice, even a piece of it, the validity of that goes away, right? I mean, it's like broadcast media or mainstream news at this point. So it's disheartening. The worst part about this deal, and I'll stop talking in a second, but the worst part about this deal is that this deal actually closed, I believe, November or October of 2016, nearly 8 months ago. 8 months ago. So why was it just announced now on Friday? Simple answer, and this is from their PR person, right? Because we figured it'd be easier to get what we wanted from Rate Beer if none of the craft beer fans or breweries had an obvious reason to object to the deal or were aware of it. Let the discussion begin. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Ryan, especially, I'm sure you were fired up because you brought it to my attention, but boys, come on, let's talk about this. What does this mean?
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of my thoughts there already, and it's the company that Anheuser-Busch InBev owns, ZX Ventures, and they own, or through that, they were able to purchase that portion of Rate Beer, and basically, as Donnie just touched on, kind of scale the playing field a little bit and make sure that only things that were in favor of AB InBev beers and things like that showed up on a higher scale than the others. And that's almost like playing the stock market and having the insider information, the insider trading information. I mean, that's right along those lines to get people and sway their opinions without it being factual and truthful. So in my opinion.
Yeah, it's messed up. And go ahead, Laos.
Yeah, it's super goofy. I don't think that's just all wrong. That's not how advertising and marketing and all that works, I don't think.
Well, it's how marketing and advertising work. It's not how a community-driven platform should work, and that's my biggest call.
Yeah,
but we should send them the Rotten Tomatoes. That's how we get back at them.
We sent them Rotten Tomatoes.
That's how they'll be fresh at the time, and then due to shipping errors and whatnot, might smudge some of those the stamps a little bit. They'll get there, but they won't be good.
So do we put like a Polaroid of the fresh tomatoes and say, "Here you go, buddies," and we put the Polaroid of the fresh tomatoes in the box with the actual tomatoes, and then we send them the actual tomatoes, and then they're rotten by the time they get there.
Yep, you're on it. You got it.
Sure. Do we need to hold the tomatoes first, or do we just ship them and rely on the crappy service of USPS?
I'll double check the website, Rotten Tomatoes, but I think you ship them first.
Ship them first.
Yeah, that'll get there.
Well, Dane, did you have any opinions on this? Because I can close it out, but it's pretty effed, man.
It's just rotten.
It is. The whole deal.
He gets it.
Keeps getting worse all the time.
It's not gonna pan out very well for him, because now that it's out and now that the people that actually use Rate My Beer aren't really affiliated with AB InBev, I'd imagine people that are going to use that are going to switch to we'll probably switch to Beer Advocate more often.
I think it's the greatest thing that could ever happen to Beer Advocate. It's like, it's like when Blackfish came out and Disney just goes, "Yeah, buddy, yeah, buddy." I think that's kind of the backlash that's going to happen. But
because everyone else is thinking the same way we are. They're like scumbags. We're not going to use your site. So good for you.
Here's the worst part. The worst part about all this stuff is that when this website was created, they simply said, "Hey, man, we're going to create a forum for you to talk about beer." It was not about craft beer. It was not about Budweiser. It was not about anything else. So you start a business to sell a business, right? Just like the best day of boat ownership is when you buy it and when you sell it, whatever. These guys made a substantial SEO and push and community around beer. They didn't set out to make this honest craft beer website. What it turned into was just that. When you sell that entity, it diminishes the legitimate value of that, because these precognitions that we're talking about right now. So it's, do I feel a little bad for Joe and his team? Sure, because that's not what they set out to do, and now they're going to get penalized for it because they're going to lose a lot of support. For example, the reason this article became so large is that Dogfish Head made a very very public statement, stated that they want all of their beers removed from the site right now, immediately. And they were joined by 6 Point and Joyride and Black Project out of Colorado and many, many others in the craft brew community, us being one, as in we said that we will no longer post any sites, any websites, any links, any mention after this episode to ratebeer.com. So it's kind of bullshit for them, because they didn't start out to do this, but this is the choice they made for the business, whether it be right, wrong, or whatever. So
yeah, that's unfortunate for them. It was maybe going to be in this direction a bad business move, but I do want to at least applaud Dogfish Head for the statement that they've made to let everyone know, like, hey, this is not what we intended, even though we are a part of AB InBev in some fashion. We're not for the manipulation of talking about craft beer and the whole industry itself. So I definitely applaud Dogfish Head on that side of things, and maybe Rate Beer will find a way to overcome this over time. But
well, Dogfish Head has always been very vocal, and they're polarized, and they have very strong fans on that love them. I'm sure they have strong fans that don't like them. But his quote kind of sums it up, and I can end on that unless you guys have anything else. But this is from Sam, the owner. The main guy behind Dogfish Head, but he basically says it just doesn't seem right for a brewer of any kind to be in a position to potentially manipulate what consumers are hearing and saying about beers, how they are rated, and which ones are receiving extra publicity based on what might appear to be legitimate. 100% user-generated platform. It is, in our opinion, that this initiative and others are ethically dubious, and the lack of transparency is troubling. And I completely agree with him. I mean, that's 100%, regardless of what they said. It's just shady. It's shady shit. That's it.
I'm just glad that Dogfish Head's bark is as big as its bite.
It better be for them to brew the 120 the way it's brewed.
Just put the laugh track in there. Get the one from America's Funniest Home Videos. Get that one.
Just a little.
Can you do that? Can you really just you get the one from America's Funniest Home Videos with like a baby like, dropping a cup, and it's like, oh, actually, you know what? Goof it up. Get the one. Get the the whole crowd. Can you just adding laugh tracks? Is this a thing?
I mean, the thing is, yes, I can. But now that you said that, I'm just gonna use the laugh track to interrupt you every time you talk.
Yeah, use that one. Use that one right there. Use the baby dropping something right there. Yeah, that's going to be great. This is all going to pan out well.
No, I don't think.
Cut all this in post.
So, dude, you're giving me orders now. That's great. Thank you.
I'm giving you editing techniques.
Okay. All right. Well, we would love to hear. Again, this is hot, spicy news. So please, we'd love to hear from you. Hashtag Brewmasters Club Cast or hashtag Brewmasters Club to join the conversation. Let us know. We can also reach us on any one of our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook handles below. We'll talk about that at the end. In the meantime, we're going to move into our next segment. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have one last opinion.
Yes.
This just shows us how scared AB InBev is actually about the craft beer industry. There you go. Drink yourselves to death over there.
Yeah, they're scared. They're scared, but they're if you imagine it like a big Monopoly game, you can be afraid and play Monopoly, but you buy enough real estate,
it starts to crash. And I hope they crash. I hope they crash. I hope they don't bring down any. And this is not okay. This is me outside the Brewmasters Club. And crash and burn.
All right.
Cut that one.
strong words from Mr. Rye Guy there. All right.
Hashtag spicy news and dicey brews.
That's
great. I brew it.
That's
hot
great.
And spicy.
That's great for the blooper reel. Perfect.
Sorry, Donnie's like,
do another on.
Donnie's like,
another
I
on.
got so much work to do after this one.
Always.
They all of my the laugh tracks have to be from America's Funniest Home Videos. I just want to make sure you're aware of this.
Okay, well they will be. Don't worry. We are approaching the 20-minute warning, so let us end tomato.
Clap.
You work at clap. You work at clap in like every 5th episode. Yes, Dane?
Be sure to send all your remarks and comments to @Mr. Lousman on Twitter.
Clearly the most knowledgeable of us all on this topic. Please,
any degrading comments, just send it straight to him.
Or if you really like the laugh track that I edited into this, please let him know. He'd love to hear it.
If you really want to make him mad, send him memes about Redbeard.
Yes, that'd be great.
Mad.
All right. Speaking of making Louse mad, let's talk about a little thing called E3.
E3.
I know. E3 kicks off on Saturday, June 10th, which is also Rye Guy's birthday party. So we may not be covering that live, unless Dane wants to solo. That's fine. You can give us all a live stream.
Maybe you can finally do the ghost interview where he just answers questions about things we haven't asked him yet. Like, come on, we got to get that off the ground.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that someday. But we do have our local E3 correspondent here. His name is Mr. Dane, and he's been pretty tapped into this stuff. So, Dane, I'll let you lead this little discussion about E3 as we kind of round up this episode, and I will chime in with some of the notes I got in front of me. But go ahead, man. Tell us what is E3, my man? E3
is your big video game convention, if you will, down in LA. If you've been living under a rock, Ryan, you don't know what it is. No, but it takes place.
Well, it starts. I think it starts Saturday.
Electronic Entertainment Expo convention. It's in LA. It's the biggest. It's the baddest. It's going to have all the heavy hitters there, and it's going to be a good time. You can catch it on live streams. They have, if you just Google E3, it's got their schedule if you want to watch it. So I don't actually watch the streams. I'll just catch the highlights later on and kind of the stuff I want to really look at.
Right,
So.
and the reason being because basically what Dane is kind of is alluding to here is that every manufacturer, not everyone, but the big dogs, so Bethesda, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they all come out there and they do. I don't know. Is it an hour? Is it 2 hours? I mean, they all basically they have times throughout the next 4 days. Again, starting kind of on Saturday, and it goes I guess through Tuesday or so. But they all have scheduled times so they come out on stage and they talk about what's coming up next and the biggest things and the baddest things, like things that were teased last year was like the HoloLens from Microsoft and Zelda, for the Switch and Nintendo, which at the time was called the NX. They talk about, every big title that comes out, every major title from Sony, from E3, or from Nintendo, from Ubisoft. All these guys get some solid face time and basically just drop a bunch of nuggets of video game news. It's a fantastic experience.
Yeah, so if you don't go, the stuff you're going to see all the heavy hitters come out. They're going to have a presentation. They're going to have a spiel about what's coming out, what to expect from them. They might drop some hints, some bombs on some crazy upcoming stuff. So we shall see. And this is the place to do it. If somebody doesn't drop a bomb here at E3, then they kind of get flack for it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I've got a list here of some games that I'm looking forward to seeing. Donnie, if there's any other game that I don't mention, let me know and we'll get into it. But I'll just go down the list here. So Microsoft with Xbox, I don't think you're going to see a lot of games. I think you're going to see Project Scorpio.
I agree.
PS4 came out.
Laos, if you have any insight, man, just jump in because I know Laos got a little bit of skin in the game here. But go ahead.
And Laos is our Microsoft guy. So
yeah, man. I just want to, before we get into the games list, what is forecasted here. So I have watched every E3 for at least the past 4 or 5 years. Yeah. It's shocking to me you guys don't actually watch the whole program, or at least you don't pick and choose which, Sony or Xbox or Nintendo. They each have a day and they spend about 2 or 3 hours and they go over a bunch of stuff. It's some of the best television I've seen in my entire life, watching these people who have no idea how to talk to humans actually get out in front of an audience full of people, and there's cameras, there's live streams, and they've got no idea. Some of the best train wrecks in all of television have occurred at E3.
Yes.
Just pointing out a few real briefly, and then we'll dive into your listing. The Wii Music, the guy who didn't even know how to play, he was just like, and it came out like garbage in front of millions. Like people who were like, do yourself a favor. If you're not familiar with E3, go ahead and YouTube worst E3 announcements ever, and you'll see compilation after compilation of just miserable failures of people who have no idea what's going on, people who have technical difficulties. There was one from 2 years ago, or it was either last year or the year before that, the Battlefield. It went horribly. There was no audio. They played video. Somebody in the crowd goes, "Fix it." And the guy goes, "We're doing that." And like that was all he could respond with. And it's just like 15 minutes of awkward silence. And it's the trailer's playing in the background. And people are like, "What's happening?" Like, I highly recommend it. It's quite literally a shit show.
All right, let's let Dane go.
Sounds like something I should watch.
So Laos will actually watch it. He'll watch the stream, and I'll hit the highlights. And like I did last year and probably the year before, is I'll text Laos, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm freaking watching it right now." So
all right, well, just keep it in the group chat, okay? Don't be asking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So for Microsoft, I think you're going to see a lot of their Scorpio. What's good about it for Microsoft is PS4 already came out with their 4K, the PS4 Pro. So I think they can kind of tweak what went wrong with PS4 and kind of, drop something that's incredible. So
I think the Scorpio I've already heard is going to come out and just like tower over the PS4 Pro. Like I've already heard it's going to just slay it.
It's going to be on an entire different level. So,
but the problem is it's also going to be $800. I mean, how are they going to get?
And I'm not going to have the TV to play on it. So,
right.
Who's going to buy it? A very small percentage.
Right. A guy who doesn't feel like buying a gaming PC. Like I don't understand that at all.
So yeah, they're going to have the Scorpio stuff. They're going to have the console stuff. I don't think they're going to have a lot of games. And PS4 has been crushing Xbox in the game.
Absolutely crushing. Do you think they're going to bring the HoloLens back at all?
They might touch on it a little bit, but it's not going to be. It's going to be Scorpio, terabyte, and it's good. Snooze fest in my opinion. So
I think if the PS4 VR would have done, bam, blew the roof off the charts, and every living room had a VR, I think that HoloLens would be a lot more present. Yeah. But I agree with you. I don't even think they're going to mention the damn thing.
Yeah. So moving along, PS4, they've already got their consoles out. I don't think they're going to have another console for another few years. So they're going to come heavy with the games. And I'm excited about it because they have all those great games. So, touching on PlayStation, God of War. God of War is one game that I'm excited for. I'm going to pick it up. And then the other one, and there's a list. So if you want to know the list, you can just Google it. And let me know what you guys think of other games. But I think Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man for PS4 is going to be really good. So, and those are my two heavy hitters for PS4. What do you guys think?
I think I've heard a lot of good things about the Spider-Man game for sure. And God of War, I never played the God of War ones, but this is an open world Spidey. So, like in the previous games, some of the previous games, especially for PlayStation, we had them lost. Remember, like we had it growing up.
Oh yeah.
It was really fun. You can just web shoot all over in New York City and just swing up and fly around the town. Like it was really a cool game. If they open that world a bit more, where there's a little bit more dynamics and functionality and abilities for whatever for you to do, like real life mechanics, kind of like what they did for Zelda. Yeah, I could see that being very, very fun. Very fun.
I'd say half the fun of a Spider-Man game is getting around because you're like, look at all this stuff I'm swinging around on. It's fantastic. Like, contrary to like the old school GameCube one where it was just like, you just picked the direction, there'd be no buildings around and he'd go, and he just keep cruising like he was an airplane or something. Don't know what happened there, but some of the most recent Spider-Man games have been fantastic. So as long as they maintain that open worldness to it and just free form, just shooting web everywhere and having fun and doing Spidey stuff, that's great.
So I got two of them. Basically, Nintendo with the Super Mario Odyssey. Can't wait for that because I am very, very eager to see that turn out. Like I really want to see that game. I want to see them play it. I like Dane. Afterwards I'll watch it. I'll watch the 3 hours, the full, and we'll talk about the Treehouse at the end of this conversation. But Nintendo's going to do a Treehouse if they really go into it. But if they play any of that game, that's all I want to see. Like I want to see what this new Mario is. I was talking to Dane before we started, and remember, like 64 Mario was in my head to date like the perfect Mario. But it still had its flaws. Like you had to collect the red coins, and you had this thing, and that's fine to make those goals. But it ultimately wasn't as open world as you really wanted to. But for 1998 and 64, I mean, this was mind blowing at the time. So fast forward to 2017, how do they take that premise and really open it up to a full open world game? Mario Galaxy, the levels got small. Mario Galaxy 2, they got smaller. Mario Sunshine, they were large but still small. So, as I mentioned, Dane, I'm hoping that they take a piece of the Zelda Breath of the Wild and how you can make an open world game with literally no hand-holding and port that over to Mario. I think that culmination would make the ultimate Mario game, and I hope this is it. We'll just have to wait and see. The only other thing, the second game that I'm really excited for, Assassin's Creed Origins, which I hate the name, but it's Assassin's Creed in Egypt. I'm ready for it. Let's do it. Fuck yeah. Go ahead, Les. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like I mean, to your point about Mario, I mean, you really want to make that a no hand holding open world. I mean, no better way to do that than to move Mario to Los Santos, and
Hey,
and
Mom,
just sort of
you're
let
fucking walking here.
yeah, just let that all sort of happen.
God.
And I think I've already mentioned this before, but there's a fantastic YouTube video where somebody took a full-on Mario mod and put it on your guy in Grand Theft Auto, and they tried to recreate the trailer, but they made it just as shitty as you think they did. So he's just like getting hit by taxi cabs, and he's falling off and like cliffs and stuff like that, and he's getting punched and tased by hookers, and it's really good.
I'm gonna watch that immediately.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah, but it's because it looks just like the Mario Odyssey trailer, but it's not. It's got that weird twist where somebody just hacked Grand Theft Auto.
Yep.
So.
Oh, I'm watching it right now. All right.
Yep. Highly recommend.
One more thing, and I forgot to mention. I'm sorry. EA, and let's talk about the new Star Wars Battlefront 2 because that's going to be beast mode. Go ahead.
We'll see what they can do with it.
Yeah, we'll see.
They kind of know what not to do now. So
yeah,
if they make any mistakes, people are going to notice and they're going to call them out.
But there's also the third person Star Wars game that's been dubbed to be released. But go ahead, Lars.
I was going to say they knew, saying they learned their lesson from the most recent Battlefront is kind of a cop out in my opinion. They knew what to do back in 2003 or 5 or something like that when they made the original Battlefront series. I mean, that was fantastic. It had a standalone one-player, basically you fought the same fight, but you did it chronologically. You did it with a slight story to it, and it all was, historically accurate. So they knew what to do several years before they even launched this Battlefront, whatever it is these days. I mean, so I really hope they kind of go back to those roots. Maybe bring back there was a Galactic Conquest mode. That was fantastic.
So wonderful.
I mean, yeah, pile in. I mean, come on. Yeah, of course. That was all fantastic, but it played like chess. It was good.
Yeah, I loved it. Ryan, any final thoughts on this before we close this out? I want to run through the schedule, and then I'll close out the E3.
Everything you guys just said sounds phenomenal. That's
fantastic.
That's my final thought.
All right.
Buy a Game Boy, Ryan. God
damn.
I do have a Game Boy. I have a Game Boy Color.
Play it. Buy something newer than Assassin's Creed 3.
I'm still operating on the PS3 over here. I haven't played Assassin's Creed in like 5 weeks.
Which they stopped manufacturing like a week ago.
Oh God.
Well, there's some good news.
Yeah.
Get another aw.
Oh.
Yeah, just drop another aw right there. Just aw.
All right.
It's gotta be America's Funniest Home Videos.
Okay. In terms of E3, EA, the presentation for EA is on June 10. We'll do East Coast time, so June 10 at 3 p.m. Microsoft, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Bethesda, which I'm hoping they might even drop something for the Switch, like the Skyrim port that they were talking about. I don't know, maybe not. That's on Sunday, June 11th. That's going to be 12 a.m., so technically Monday. The PC gaming show, stinker. Who cares about that?
Boo.
A big boo there. 1 p.m. on Monday, June 12th. Ubisoft, Monday, June
Good time
12th.
slot.
Yeah.
Got prime time.
Yeah, Monday, June 12th at 4 p.m. Ubisoft, and then Sony will do Monday, June 12th at 9 p.m. So I will definitely be watching that one. And then Nintendo, they're kind of closing it out on Tuesday the 13th at 12 p.m. East Coast. So, and again, they will immediately follow that with a Treehouse event, which promises to be about an hour long. So they're going to go into some Odyssey shit, and they'll talk about the Switch. I hope they talk about some virtual console stuff, new Skyrim, or something relaunched like a remastered 64 Mario. I don't know. Anything else there to close out this wonderful episode this evening?
Yes.
Go ahead.
One top tip. Typically, if you're new to E3, what they'll do on each console is they'll give you a live stream. Like it'll take center stage on their actual console. And as long as you're hooked up to the internet on your console, like your Xbox 360 or your Xbox One or your PlayStation 3 or 4 or whatever, as long as you're hooked up to the internet, they'll typically say, hey, come watch our live stream, and you can just watch it on your console. If you don't feel like mucking about with a computer or anything like that, keep an eye on your actual console, and they'll usually let you just watch it there.
Yep, and you can actually watch E3, essentially all over the place. Like if you literally just Google it, they have it on the website. Polygon's got it, IGN's got it, so you can watch these all over the internet. That's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to be there to participate, but it's going to be some hot, spicy news. Dane, Ryan, anything to close us out?
I'm gonna list off some games, and we'll talk about it next week. See if they talk about it, other than the ones we just talked about. So look out for Doom, Fallout 4 VR.
Oh yeah.
Yes, look out for that. Far Cry 5.
Yes, we talked about that. We talked about Far Cry 5 last week.
Yep.
It looks sick.
You're gonna see Call of Duty. Don't care. Borderlands 3, Kingdom Hearts 3, a new Metal Gear Solid, Half-Life 3, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yep, I heard that too.
Is Nintendo Switch going to have some other heavy hitters other than Mario Odyssey? Metroid? We'll see.
Yeah, see, the Metroid discussion, again, what me and Dave were talking about before we started, so the Switch has got us in. It's got me. It's got Dane. It's got the Nintendo fanboys for sure. What they need to do now is to convince people between now and the holiday season, so those people that are thinking about buying it or kids or their parents or whatever it may be, for Christmas this year, they have got to get those people on board. And Mario, if Zelda wasn't enough, then Mario simply isn't enough. So they've really got to bring some A-game shit to get those fence sitters on board. That's my closing argument on that.
Banjo-Kazooie 3.
Tazooie.
Crash Bandicoot is coming out this month. So.
Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong. There you go, buddy.
There you go. Hey, he's back.
Good for something. Good for something.
Anything else, Rye Guy?
I've said my piece.
All right. Well,
you got any earth-shattering Paperboy news
Mic
on our
drop.
way?
Right there.
All right.
God.
So while Ryan is playing Dig Dug, do you guys have any other earth-shattering news? No, I guess not. Shall we do the outros, broskies?
Sure.
All right.
Outros.
Where can the good people find you, a good, kind, knowledgeable voice? Loustman?
At Mr. Lockman.
Solid.
Razor fast. Super
Ryan?
quick.
Ryan,
Wait, is that a Google search, or do you have to go to a different platform, or
I'm pretty sure if you Google Mr. Lousman, he will come up. I do think he's cornered the SEO on that.
If you Google
nope, not at
Mr. Lousman, I will actually show up to your door. Just try it. Try it right now.
Do you have to Google it 3 times or just once?
It's not a Beetlejuice type situation. Come on now.
Thank you.
Actually, I would encourage you to do that. If you Google Mr. Lousman, one word, you do see some interesting pictures.
If you do it 3 times, I'll actually show up. All right, how's that for everyone? If you Google Mr. Loustman 3 times, I'll show up. Bring have some hoagies ready because I'm usually pretty hungry after I drive.
All right, and Ryan, where can they find you?
On Twitter at Brewboy813 and Instagram. If you do that, because I don't know what the fuck that is, but evidently it's a thing.
Okay. And Mr. Dano, where can they find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at DT Mirt on Twitter.
Okay, and you can always participate in the show, the chatter, the questions, the answers, and the speculation. If you want to reach us, the show, we're at Brewmasters Club on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere. If you want to participate, again, use the hashtag Brewmasters Club or Brewmasters Club Cast. We are still talking about our working on the details for our It's a Me Barrio. That live tournament Mario Kart is coming. I promise you it is. I made a really good contact at the Lowry Parkade last weekend, so that is coming for sure. We want to thank New Belgium, Cold Mountain, Triple C Brewing, 610 hashtag London Bridge out there for all those people in England, and we do love you guys. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Oh wait, what's our famous catchphrase that we say at the end of every episode?
Oh, whammy!
That's it. Whammy. And that's
whammy.
You've been listening to the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews and Geek News. Grab a beer with the guys and be sure to subscribe to catch additional content. Add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. Chat with the guys on Twitter at Brewmasters Club and Facebook and online at www.brewmasters.club. Cheers!